cosmic thoughts, gentlemen?
You really piss me off, Joe.
Dr. McCoy is not in the best of moods.
I don't control minds. I free them.
I don't want my pain taken away. I need my pain.
What does God need with a starship?
Jim, what are you doing? I'm asking you a question.
You heard it up top. We once again boldly go where no man has gone before. Except it's a little different this time with someone else directing. That's right, because we're going to talk about the 5th Star Trek film, aptly named The Final Frontier, here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Lieutenant Colin.
Mike Bach. Share your pain with me.
No.
I'll just be Jock again, because I was going to be Jake Bach.
Your brother.
Oh, my brother. Half brother.
Long lost brother.
I need to sit down. I like that there's
only...
a chair that popped out of the wall for that one bit, not to get ahead of us.
Well, yes, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
We're here. We're talking about kind of a famous disaster of a film. We'll get our thoughts. We'll get our opinions. We're once again doing our continued coverage of the Star Trek movies. Normies, if you haven't been following along, we've been doing all 6 of the films. We're going to do more, of course, but we're on our 5th here of the OG Star Trek films. So how we doing, boys?
Yeah, it's our 5-year mission, ongoing. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but yeah, it's we're hanging in there.
Yeah.
You know, number 5 now. I haven't seen this one in a very long time, and with the reveal of Cybok at the end of Strange New Worlds, I was like kind of ready to watch this one. So we'll get into it, but I was here for it. Jacob, how about you?
Yeah, I watched this. Well, when I was going through them a few months ago, I watched all of these in a row, and I couldn't wait to watch one a month. So I was just like, I'm just gonna watch all of them. So I watched this a few months ago, and then I just rewatched it last night. And man, what a movie!
Still holds up, right? You know, after the voyage home, how could you wait? You know, Colin,
Right.
how do you feel?
Mike, I have felt a little disconnected from Star Trek lately. It's been a month since we've done one of these episodes. We do it the last week to kind of like round out our episode count. A genius system. I've been loving that. But I haven't been doing my Pluto TV Star Trek watches as I've done in the past. And unlike you guys, I haven't done the new season of The Orville yet. I'm thinking about starting it pretty soon. But so I feel a little Star Trek disconnected. I was happy to be watching this.
Yeah, and I'm also out on the Orville, so maybe that's what I'll do to fill my time.
Show. Yeah,
so
far.
Okay.
So you guys got to get into the Orville with us. Third season was great, and it could be, you know, the last season if it doesn't get renewed. It hasn't been renewed yet, so could be the season finale or not. Who knows?
And now it's on Disney Plus. That's the big thing.
It's on Disney Plus. Yeah. It's on Hulu. I have both, so.
Yeah, so don't forget that Naru from Prey is now a Disney princess and very likely my favorite one. You know.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right, Mike.
And as well as the Orville, you can watch the Lower Decks just came back, right, Colin?
Yes.
First episode
I
of the new
thought
season.
it had that. That is true. I have been watching that. I just caught that sort of right before I watched this. Relogged into the old Paramount. I thought it was a fantastic season premiere. And I keep reading more and more about this crossover episode coming up that I'm getting like nervous about, I think.
Is it happening on Lower Decks or is it happening with Strange New Worlds?
It's happening with Strange New Worlds, and it's not sounding like the entire Cerritos or Cerritos crew will be coming. It seems like it's only going to be Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome.
People who could be put into makeup to look like
live action.
Purple dyed hair.
Characters.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a joke about purple hairspray in this first episode. I almost wonder if that's the setup of here we come.
Jack Quaid looks mostly like his character Boimler, and same with
Tawny. Tawny looks like Mariner. Yeah,
get away with it.
So that'll be interesting. But
it will be interesting.
I was looking forward to the DS9 connections that I saw in the trailer of Lower Decks, but I haven't checked out that episode yet, so I'll have to do that.
Yeah, well, God willing, it'll turn out okay, you know. But what does God need with a podcast is really
That's right.
The joke that I stole from Colin off mic. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm succumbing to your cult-like advances. You can have it.
Share your jokes with me. You know?
That's right. My father.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Should we just jump right in then? You know, we got the final frontier. Let's see if we can breach the barrier right after this. I want to talk about that horse. Can we talk about that horse as we come in? Because
Yes.
it just like any other good Star Trek alien, right? All it is a normal thing with some shit glued onto its forehead. They had like little horns on it, and that's a space horse now.
Wait,
And it's
which
like,
horse are you talking about?
the horse that Cybok's riding at the very beginning. It just got some horns glued onto its
Oh,
forehead.
I didn't even notice that. I just thought it was a
Yep.
regular horse.
I was like, is this a space
in the
horse?
Mojave.
Yep. So
Because then
anyway.
they're riding horses later when they do the assault on Paradise City or whatever, right?
That's
Yeah.
Paradise City. Yes, that is my favorite sequence, and we
That's
are
the
going to
one
talk about
Guns
the
N' Roses
dance.
Yeah.
Was talking about.
That's right.
Star Wars referenced that horse raid in Rise of Skywalker. Everyone thought it was silly. It's actually a reference to Star Trek
It
5,
must
the
have
best
been.
one. Yeah.
It must have been. We are back. Mike just said we're talking Star Trek 5. Now, 1989 classic. We have said in the past, the
Classic.
distinction that makes this film interesting, of course, is the one for you, one for me clause that the star didn't have with the studio. No. He had with his fellow star. That if Leonard Nimoy, his co-star Spock, was going to direct a film, then William Shatner, our beloved Captain Kirk, was going to direct one as well. And Jacob, I'll hand it over to you because I don't want to step on anything for your delightful quiz at the end as far as like facts or trivia about this film. But is there anything else we should kind of know about the climate of Star Trek at this moment?
Yeah, well, you said it. Shatner was directing this one. The Next Generation had just premiered basically between
Huge,
this
yeah.
and Voyage Home. Yeah, and which actually got blamed for kind of the tepid reception a little bit, by some of the producers of this movie because they said, well, people could stay home and watch Next Generation on TV. They're not going to come out to the theaters to watch this movie. People are getting tired. They're getting too much Star Trek now with these two things, I guess. Which
Yeah.
I don't,
Streaming is
Whatever.
killing movie theaters, Jacob.
yeah, exactly.
TV is killing movie theaters. Yeah, it's
To
same
watch
thing.
reruns of the Next Generation season 1, everyone's favorite season of that show.
Yeah.
Not really.
No.
But yeah, so Shatner had this idea based around finding God or the ultimate question of what is God all about? And he's like, maybe we could make that into a movie. It's also kind of based on televangelists, like televangelists
late
were kind of on the
80s,
rise
yeah.
in the 80s. Yeah, and Shatner saw these guys and were like, these guys are like, con men or whatever. So that's kind of where he got the idea for Cybok from.
Oh, you know what? That actually tracks for sure. And
Yeah.
it kind of harkens back to like I think Apollo's Children, where it's like, oh, this Greek god was just like an entity that happened to be worshipped on Earth. It's an original series episode.
Yeah.
So it's like Kirk again encountering a god figure, like
Yeah.
things in
Ancient
space are beyond.
aliens.
Yeah,
And this is kind of
exactly.
the motion picture kind of dealt with this as well with V'ger, similar themes. And actually Roddenberry, when they told Roddenberry what they were planning, he hated the idea and he's like, well, that's kind of that's too similar to motion picture and we already did that in the show and everything, so he wasn't into it at all. And also he didn't like the idea of just having someone represent like Western religion and it's just like an old guy with a beard in the sky or whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't have that much input at this point in the movies. So they're like, we're doing this. Shatner tried to convince Harve Bennett, who I've mentioned a few times for the last 3 films, he was very involved as a producer. He was kind of getting tired of Star Trek. He wanted to do other stuff, but Shatner did convince him to come back and kind of give some ideas and stuff. They tried to get Nicholas Meyer, director of Wrath of Khan, to come back and write the script, and he was busy doing other stuff. And they'll try again, next movie, and maybe they'll succeed that time.
Right. And I hope I'm not stepping on any trivia toes here, but I think there's also the budget was more or less the same from Star Trek 4, which was set on Earth and didn't have a lot of. Because I gotta say, watching this, the effects look pretty cheap.
Oh yeah, they look
yeah.
notably worse than the previous 3 movies, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually not only the budget was the reason for that, but they also they wanted to go back to ILM, right? They've used ILM
Yeah,
the previous
that's right.
3 movies, Industrial Lights and Magic. But the problem was all their best people were working on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Ghostbusters 2, which both came out the same year.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, we're not going to use ILM. So they ended up using a different effects house, and like you said, that their budget just wasn't there for the effects, and
Maybe they're not as
it definitely
experienced with big models or something. Yeah, like you could definitely tell.
I think I forget the name of it, but it was the people that did Little Shop of Horrors previously.
Sure.
So they did some good stuff before, but it's not the same as ILM, right?
No. There's some incredible shots in Little Shop of Horrors where like Rick Moranis had to walk in slow motion in order to get the puppet to lip sync right. Like there's a lot of good trickery in that movie, but nothing like if you don't know how to shoot a spaceship for scale, like they look more like models here than in any other movie. And I think that's just, they're not sure how to light it, how to shoot it, and it's just lack of experience and budget and whatever. So it kind of is what it is. But this is the worst, I think, as far as the effects that I've seen so far.
Hey, side tangent. Are you guys watching that Disney Plus ILM sort of TV show?
I watched
guys
about
got
half
that
of
on?
it. Yeah,
No.
yeah. It's pretty
I like it,
fascinating.
Mike.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's cool.
It's cool
I'll
to
have to check that
see
out.
exactly the way I described it, is just a bunch of weird dudes in a warehouse
Yep.
gluing shit together and filming it. 'Cause
Like-
that's what they were
like-
doing.
Yeah.
Old footage of them, Jacob, 35 millimeter or whatever, of them turning to the camera and being like, how am I going to figure this out? I don't know. Let's try it. And then cut to them now, super old, being like, and then I figured it out.
Yep.
Right.
And that's
it's
the
really
thing.
cool.
ILM really created a lot of those
Yeah.
in-camera techniques to film models and do space battles. And
Totally.
this new studio just didn't kind of have that pedigree in it.
No.
Yeah.
It's not really their fault either, but you can just tell as a viewer that this is, a little bit lower budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I need
Yeah,
to
and-
watch that. Yeah, because I love the practical effects of the 80s, and now that everything would just be done in a computer, and it's just so much different
Yes.
seeing models and stuff, and it just makes me nostalgic for a time that I was not alive in. But
Or Lord of
Well,
the Rings
and-
bigatures kind of being the last time that was relevant,
right.
Yeah, you get a lot of back projection in this. But I guess I'll point out the last, big technical issue that I guess this film faces is a Teamsters strike that literally, the crew is, walking out on some days during production. And Shatner is like, it was hell. Shooting this movie was hell. So
Oh,
sure.
man.
how much can you blame? I don't know.
Yeah, and Colin, you mentioned rear projection. They were using that over blue screen in this because,
Yeah.
again, to save money. So,
Huh.
yeah.
So that's noted, but I mean, so we kind of touched on it, but what's this thing about, right? We got,
Right.
what's
Great
the plot
question.
here? Yeah.
So
I would
movie
love
opens
it.
What's
you
this
told me.
cheap-looking movie about, Jacob?
Yeah, it opens on a scene of a deserted planet, you might say, a desert planet.
Made of chocolate pudding, yeah.
Yeah, someone rides up on a horse. There's a guy digging holes in the sand. Someone rides up on a horse. He says, "Give me your pain." He gives him a hug, and he's basically doing therapy to him, right? And he takes his pain,
Yeah.
and he says, "Join my cult. We're gonna do some stuff." So that's the first scene of the movie. And what are you guys thinking at this point? This Star Trek movie.
Colin, what do you think?
And keep in mind, Mike, the last time we saw these people, they were saving whales back in time. So
Yeah.
truly,
Right.
Star Trek movies can be anything. I'm not
They
going to
can be,
complain
yeah.
about a weird setup or whatever, but you are kind of watching this already and going what this? It all already kind of looks cheap.
Yeah.
What is this?
We went out
Well,
to
so
the
from
Bonneville
there,
Salt
we,
Flats with 2 actors in the second
Yeah.
unit.
Right. So from there we cut to Yosemite, and we see our crew.
The real
on
opening,
shore
in my
leave.
opinion.
Yes.
Oh, shore leave. Hell yes. Yes.
Yes. And have you guys? Let me ask you this real quick. Have you ever been to Yosemite in real life?
I have
person?
not,
I have not.
but I know
went
you
recently,
have. Yeah.
like a year ago, and it was awesome. And I actually saw, El Capitan, the mountain that Captain Kirk is climbing in this, and it's a big free solo. You know that movie Free Solo. That's all
Mhm.
about climbing El Capitan. Because it's got a sheer cliff face on one side, so it's a very popular mountain for people to free climb.
Yeah.
I
And
was
that's what
shocked to
he's
hear
doing
that
this.
term used in a 1989 film when Kirk says free
Right.
soloing.
Yeah, but if you see that documentary, it's literally about some people climbing El Capitan. So
I'm wondering if the movie Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone was about free soloing, and I just never realized. But
could be, yeah.
so is it an accident that Shatner's directing this and Captain Kirk is climbing a mountain called the Captain?
I think that was
Yeah.
an intentional little joke in there.
Well,
yeah.
and
I
then
don't
there's
know.
this stuff that's added. What is this personality trait? Because again, Jacob, he doesn't get writing credit. He gets story credit. He did supposedly just dictate a fountain of ideas at the
Sure.
screenwriter. And we come up with this stuff of when I have control of Kirk, the stuff that he's going to show off with is He loves climbing mountains. Later, he wears a shirt that says "Go rock yourself."
Go climb a rock or something.
Go climb a rock. Yeah.
It's like
Why
at
do you
any
climb a
chance
mountain?
he has.
Because it's there.
You know what?
Well,
I want
because it's
to.
there.
I want to touch on that because I do think that's a theme of this.
Yeah.
I think Cybok very much is climbing a mountain in this movie, and why? Because it's there, right?
Right.
So theming,
What?
I'll give him credit for it. Maybe not Shatner, but I give the writers and the team credit for that line of dialogue that kind of sets up the thesis.
And here,
yeah.
I can't look past Nimoy's jet boots. That's my issue, Mike.
Hey, they get a call back too. That's setup and payoff.
Yeah, he does use them later.
Give him all the credit. This is the tightest
Right.
script I've ever read.
It's so good.
Yeah, shore leave. He's climbing a mountain because it's there. Bones is all worried. You're gonna die up there, Jim. You know, all this kind of crap. But they're camping. They're out camping.
My least favorite Bones out of all the movies we've seen so far. DeForest Kelley is not. He looks. They are so old by this movie. First
Yeah.
of all, the cravat he's wearing does not. It does not look great. He's getting skinnier in his little onesie suits he wears.
Yeah, he's really just kind of
He's a Bones.
shriveling
He's
away.
Bones.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, he's becoming his namesake.
Right.
He's also grumpy mean. Like, he's not mean where it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. Like,
Yeah.
he's sometimes
It's
just
not fun.
outright mean.
He's always ornery, but in this one, he's like,
Yeah.
he's arguing with Spock constantly and just being like, "You fucking green-blooded Vulcan!" Like,
And a
Yeah.
spoiler, but he basically gets mind controlled later. I'm like, what are you doing? No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
right.
But,
I mean, he has that emotional scene where he has to, confront his father dying and all that stuff.
That's once we meet Cybok.
not
We
earned.
get
Yeah.
shore leave cut short
Yeah.
because this guy Cybok goes to Paradise City and starts basically kidnapping people and taking over.
That's right.
Right.
Before that, though, we do get the greatest piece of merch tie-in of all time. Now,
Oh,
did
God,
you guys
you're right.
know they sell the marshmallow holders?
No, I did not know that.
I knew
Officially
this.
licensed
That's
Jet
amazing.
Puff.
So there's a YouTuber I want to shout out. His name's Junkball Media. He used to have a bunch of really great short little retrospectives on all the ships and stuff, but he did a whole video dedicated to the marshmallow holder.
Wow.
And it's just wild that it only held like 3 marshmallows, and it's like,
Yeah.
why not just bring a bag of marshmallows?
No,
Take it into
it's the
space.
future.
Right. Also, the
now that
mystery
I'm
behind
thinking about it-
marshmallow. Why does Bones not correct him? Right.
Marshmallow, because they just
He's
think it's
lost to
funny that he's
them.
saying that.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, like it's just translated to become marshmallow, and
I
marshmallow
don't
is
know.
just not
I
it.
just think they just don't even want to put up with this guy. He's been reincarnated by this time.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of marshmallows, I was just thinking
Yeah.
about this. What's another big movie that came out in '89? I just said Ghostbusters 2.
Oh.
Was Marshmallows having like great PR in
That's
1989 or
crazy.
what? Like,
I'm trying to think of the summer camp genre probably never being bigger than in the 80s, and
Yeah.
marshmallows being a part of that, right?
Jet Puff was just going crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Make some
that's
s'mores.
nuts.
Hershey's stock was out the charts, man. Yeah.
You just fucking
Yeah.
falling for it too.
Yeah, I kind of want a s'more
Um,
with a marshmallow. But yeah, you're right. We get this whole
Right.
scene, row, row, row your
Yeah, they're
boat.
This is so
Camping-
worth pointing out.
Camping
It's
in the
nuts.
Yosemite. They say, let's maybe sing a song. They do a little row, row, row your boat, which is another callback at the end.
And can I say, for a famous disaster, I'm still not out of it here. Like I'm like the
No, I think
boys
the
are on
Yosemite
shore
stuff
leave. Our
like
core
my favorite
trio,
part.
Jacob.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Just seeing them interact in the camping and everything, like that's the fun
Yeah.
part of this movie, I think.
Even hearing the McCoys, like, oh, this is a family recipe, and you're thinking like Hatfield's McCoys, like, how are these the McCoys, Old West making beans? You know, like it's
Right.
fun to
Well-
think of it that way.
And they truly are like 60 years old, late 60s at this point, and they have no one else. Like there are,
They have no family, no
David is
significant
dead.
others.
Yes, it's like
Yeah.
literally
T'Pring's
he has
remarried.
no one. Yeah.
Right.
This,
T'Pring. Oh,
Mhm.
I was thinking about, McCoy too. Like, it was cool to see him in that environment because DeForest Kelley, he did a bunch of westerns.
in
and stuff
DeForest?
before Star Trek. Like he was really known for being a character actor in westerns before Star Trek.
Oh,
He's
I
very
like that.
familiar in that role. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's some of the better stuff. But it does feel like watching this, especially that it's Shatner helmed. Like the character, like I mentioned, and the actor are blending to where this feels like a movie about an old dude struggling to be relevant.
Yeah.
And there's an old dude struggling to be relevant. Now there's a new Star Trek on the block, like
Totally.
I see that happening with the direction of this and kind
That's a
of
very salient point, I think.
right. So that's
Um,
where I'm at with them being old, I guess.
Yeah. So they're in the woods camping on shore leave. And what happens? Well, Cybok attacks Paradise City, which is the capital city of the planet of galactic peace.
Nimbus 3.
Nimbus 3, which is apparently this planet that the Federation, the Romulans, and the Klingons jointly set up to be like a peace planet between these three governments. They each have their own representative there, but it just went badly and turned into like this deserted wasteland, and the people there are like all like poor and stuff, but I don't really understand any of that.
And they're full of resentment. Again, this is some sort of weird critique William Shatner has, but worth pointing out. So this is the introduction of David Werner, the recently passed brilliant actor, and someone who's shown up in multiple Star Trek properties. Not only this film, we might talk about him again in this series, but also a Next Generation episode that I've expressed to you guys is my favorite Next Generation episode, where he's just incredible as a Cardassian. So this guy's Star Trek legacy or legend.
There are 4 lights, the episode where Picard gets kidnapped by the Cardassians.
There are 3 lights!
So he played a Cardassian, and then he'll be in Star Trek 6 as a Klingon, I believe.
Yeah, as all different characters. So he does your guys' beloved Jeffrey Combs move, where he really just sort of, hey, I'm here and I'm down. And, again, how he didn't win awards for these. He's so good.
And that's
he's a great actor. He should have won an Emmy or something for this Next Generation role for sure.
Yeah, and that's Chain of Command. I had to look it up because I forgot. It's a 2-parter. One of the best. That's some of the best TNG. If you haven't seen it, listeners, definitely check out Chain of Command.
And you know me, I love it when actors come back in different roles in Star Trek. That's like one of the things that I really like.
You know, the name for it in Andorian is unpronounceable. I kept just thinking about Jeffrey Combs. Like, he could probably pronounce it. But,
you know, that's the other thing when they say the Klingon word is whatever. Isn't it? Wouldn't it be Stovokor, or is that like a different thing? Because that's like Valhalla to them is Stovokor. But
maybe there's another origin point beyond Stovokor.
Yeah, I think this is maybe even before they came up with Stovokor, because I think that was the Next Generation. So there could be stuff in here that doesn't exactly fit into canon as we know it.
That's true. We could have not had any of that, even though the Klingons look like Next Generation Klingons. That lore probably hasn't been developed. That's a good point to make.
Yeah. So who knows? But so Cybok, you know,
hugs everybody and gets them on his side.
Yeah, he basically does immersion therapy, says, give me your pain, hugs them, and then they join his cult. But his plan is to take over Paradise City in order to get a Federation starship, specifically Enterprise, which his half-brother Spock is serving on, because he needs a starship to travel to pass through the Great Barrier at the center of the universe, supposedly where God lives, right?
And so, as you just said, the different words for the different religions, but of course for Vulcan, it is Shikari. Is that correct?
Shikari.
You say so.
I think our pronunciation. It's been a while since I got out of Vulcan 2 in high school. My pronunciation's not so great, but Shikari. Enter Shikari.
Shikari
for humans.
And he makes the claim of, it's all one and the same. I'm going to be the one who finds all this. Now, can I ask you guys, where does he get this superpower of these forced empathy projections from? Do we get an answer from that?
I don't think that's ever explained.
Okay. The whole time I was like, what is this?
My understanding is, as Spock says, you know, he was a heretic. He turned away the Vulcan teachings. So maybe he was experimenting with, I assume it's like an advanced kind of banned form of mind meld, where he's able to tap into your trauma, but it's just something that it's somehow related to a mind meld, but they don't explain it explicitly.
It's not really explained.
Yes.
I know there's this faction of Vulcans called the Vashkator, which again, I don't know if this was something made before or after this movie, but it shows up in Enterprise. It's been mentioned in Strange New Worlds, but basically the Vashkator are a sect of Vulcans who have decided to favor emotion over logic and are actually very emotional. And like in Enterprise, they come aboard and T'Pol is basically like mind raped by one of them, which is like really
he forces a mind meld upon her, and it's a whole thing, but it unleashes her emotions and like awakens that part of her. Might not have existed though.
I don't know if those were
an
original series thing or if that came later. So he could have been maybe the inventor of the started the Vashkator. I don't know.
I hate
totally
that.
could have. Yeah.
But basically, yeah, he's saying, it's Vulcans were wrong to reject emotion. Like, you need emotion in your life, I guess.
Yeah. So he's a big appeal to empathy, and it's almost like he doesn't. He wants to be nonviolent. He's always saying, "I don't want violence." He generally hugs people, and then they're just down to join him because they feel like he has given them something that they could not find themselves. Like a lot of televangelists, right? Like they've found healing through him, so to speak. So they're willing to follow him to the ends of the universe at this point because they believe in him so much because he was able to, quote unquote, fix them.
Right.
Whether that's for devious purposes or not, which is kind of what Shatner's looking at with the televangelism.
But his ultimate plan is to find God, find the answers behind everything, which
Yes.
a lot of people, philosophers have been trying to do forever, right? So
In his case, he believes, he's not trying to trick people. He believes in his cause, 100%.
yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets access to the Enterprise because so they send the Enterprise to Planet of Galactic Peace, and then they come up with this elaborate plan to try to recapture the city, and this is where you have Uhura doing an exotic dance.
So
to
you
distract
see
people.
this beautiful matte painting of a moon, right? This is clearly shot on either a stage or maybe outside, right, with some additive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you get this silhouette of some gams. You know what I mean? Some some haunches where you're like, oh, I don't know if that's sexy as much as I'm like worried about the grandmother that I'm about to experience doing this sexy thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you get full on, God bless her, the dearly departed Nichelle Nichols, doing this sort of performative fan dance that I swear to God, at this point, I'm saying, Jacob, how can people hate this movie? Because it's so weird and surreal. And then it just keeps going and going and going. And then I kind of get it.
It's a really strange choice to do this scene. I don't want to speak ill
cool,
of the dead
though.
because, like you said, Nichelle Nichols did pass, I think, between our last Star Trek episode and now. So
this is the first thing I've watched
announcing it.
since that
but it's a very strange movie to do in this movie. Like you said, she's... they're all very old at this point. She has gray hair, I think, for the first time in a movie.
We've essentially only seen Uhura have a character arc through these 5 movies now of changing her hairstyles. And in this one, Jacob, she lets herself go Silver Fox. And you're like, God, it's just, there's nothing wrong with it. But also,
she
you're
definitely
just
looks
watching,
good for her age. Like,
she looks incredible, but it just so reminds you in your face of these people are a million years old.
Which again this is my hypothesis of Shatner, like trying to be relevant. Like we're not old. We're the original deal. We're still got plenty of time left, And it's like the other thing too with her is where 5 movies in, and like she's gotten promoted. She's got a new jacket and everything, but really all they got her doing is no response, Captain. And it's like, come on,
I still
dude.
feel like she
should have more responsibilities by now.
It's terrible.
Any of the main cast members.
Yeah,
Can I
and
also
Sulu
point...
too. Doesn't do shit.
Well, basically, he just gets the one line of, sure leaves cut short.
We're in a blizzard.
Oh, yes, that one too. We'll talk about that. Can I point out,
you gotta check.
This film has the most Star Trek references, or Star Wars references, I think, in that the Capital Pleasure Planet is very much the cantina, and we really have not seen a scene like that in Star Trek before, right?
This whole planet is basically Tatooine, right?
And Jacob, isn't Nichelle Nichols doing Slave Leia a little bit here, like all of a sudden? For
and we
some
have a
reason,
cat woman
and you're
who's like a Twi'lek with 3 boobs.
Yeah, we have a
that.
breasted cat lady. Don't
Thank
forget
you
that.
for reminding me. Can we just cut right to the fight? Shatner picks a fight with. It's almost like him writing it like, and I'm not going to have a fight with like a big brawly guy. Like she's going to be like the sexiest woman possible. And we're going to top the Total Recall 3 boobs by putting it through a furry lens. And it's, I mean, it's incredible.
It's strange.
And also her tactics are essentially she will leap upon me, forcing me to motorboat her.
She will try to take my clothes off, essentially, is her fighting style. And you're like, you got it, boss.
It's so bizarre. And then he throws her into a tank
really
of water, which presumably kills cat people because she's just
completely... she does not move after
that. Everyone else is like, we were just kidding. There was no conflict, but she's just probably still dead.
Wow. Yeah.
So...
and again, not to focus on this Uhura thing again, but
Yeah.
The reaction
totally
of
weird
the
stuff on
people
this
that
planet.
distracted. Yeah, it's
like
very strange. And then she says,
wild.
like, "I've always wanted a captive audience."
That's
And
right,
it cuts-
boys. Yeah, it's
Oh
like
man.
So strange. This whole assault on this city is the strangest. And then it turns
Shatner
out it was
pushed for that
all-
line to stay in.
I'm sure he did. Yeah. And then it turns out it was all a trap for the Enterprise crew, apparently, and
Yeah.
they're basically kidnapped by Cybok's cult, and they commandeer the Enterprise.
So they're putting on a big play show about we're not fighting each other.
And from here, it's pretty much interpersonal dramas on the trip to where Cybok wants to go, as we previously expressed, the center of the universe. So the film really kind of slows down to just be like, you know, again, we'll save as much money as possible by just like using our ship sets and just kind of have like Shatner walk around and be disappointed in people who like fall for fucking Cybok shit, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, this really isn't fun to watch Dad get mad.
No, it's I think it's strangely paced, and there's a lot of like slow talking scenes after that assault scene. In between, before the end, it's just the movie just kind of stops for a while while people are talking on the starship. They're traveling towards the center of the universe.
And it's 2 hours. It's not short. It's not like this is
No.
just 90 minutes of this.
No, I was
Yeah.
pretty shocked because, at that point, all we've kind of done is be on Yosemite. We got a distress signal, investigate. Now we're captured, and we do spend the next kind of length of time with our trio in the break.
Film,
Yeah,
it just
not a lot
ends
really
once it's
happens in this
over.
movie.
Yeah, it's just like,
For how long it is too. It's just
yes.
badly paced. It's hard to get through, really. Like, it's hard to watch all at once because I was just like kind of got bored. But
Better than V'ger.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. Which one would you rather watch,
There we
1
go.
or 5?
And you know, Jacob, I love that you have been asking us our rankings as we were going through this. I almost wanted to ask you too, and maybe this is good for the end of, where do you put the villain for this film ranked out with the other ones as well? But I put this above number 1. This is better than the motion picture for sure.
Yeah.
Fucking, I'm calling you out, Jacob, on Letterboxd, giving it 1 star. I was shocked.
1.5 stars, I think.
1.5. Okay.
I disagree. I think I like the motion picture better than this movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's visually much better. I can give him
because I think
that.
it's got the visuals. It's very slow again, but I just love the the beauty shots of the ship and everything. And just in this movie, it just feels so much more cheaper, and like the effects are bad. And
Which feels like the original series, you know what I mean? It's true to
Mike,
form.
where are you?
That's true.
I like this more. I still at the point where I think
thank God.
motion picture is irrelevant because they reuse a lot of those good special effects in Wrath of Khan anyway.
Right.
And it's a better way to get our characters in essentially the same position they are as far as their personal growth is concerned. And Cybok, man, I love him. I love him.
You love Cybok?
He's great. He's
Go
so
off,
great.
Lawrence
Why?
Luckinbill.
I don't wanna get-
What a name.
It's just he believes it so much, and when we
Yeah.
get to the end,
No,
you'll
I think he's
see
doing
how
a good
he
job.
takes things. But it's like he's so sincere, and so when he kind of gets the rug pulled out from under him, you almost feel sympathetic because,
Yeah.
he almost achieved
Well,
his
it's
dream.
interesting because he's not really a villain. Like, everything he's doing, he has a reason why he's doing it. Like, he's not evil or bad, really. He's just very committed to what he's doing, and by
Yeah.
the end he admits that he's wrong and is like, "I'm sorry, Spock, forgive me,"
Yeah, and then they do a
So,
little.
yeah, I kind of
They're bros. Yeah, I like Cybok a lot, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love his look. The armor's incredible. The
Mhm.
hair. I get why
His
Shatner,
sleeves,
saw
man, they're
this guy and
sick
fell
as
in love
hell.
with him. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, what do you think about
Yeah.
Cybok, Colin? Though.
I'm the Crusade. I'm into with these sort of storylines, which are these men of faith. Like, this is the moment.
We're gonna get more of this down the line, in other movies.
Yeah. Well, and it's even sort of like the Gore the God Butcher, like kind of, but to a different story beats. But
Mhm.
that sort of
Totally.
like driving force of it. My central question is like, why now to these characters? There's always this urgency of like, I give us the Enterprise. It's now, and it's like, why now? Why now?
he just
there's
needed
not
a
a ticking
starship
clock.
to get there. Yeah, I don't know.
But you're just leading this
Um,
cult now, and it's just like, this is the perfect conditions. It's the only time we
Right.
can get to Shikari. That I would be like, okay,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
give a
Colin,
reasoning.
Yeah, you're mentioning Gore the God Butcher. You know, Marvel has kind of been known for doing these sympathetic villains, right? That are like, they have a, you know, they have a good reason for what they're doing. And he kind of reminds me of some of those. But even
his clothes,
Killmonger, you know, is supposedly this great villain, but he's still doing objectively evil things by killing people at certain points. Cybok never kills anyone, I don't think.
It's just the hugs.
Yeah, he's just chilling. He's just like, give me your pain.
He's getting Romulans and Klingons and humans to all work together towards a common goal, bro. He's like out here.
Now, I would say that is a very 80s view of Christian fascism, which I think in Shatner's time, totally fair for him to say the dangers of televangelism is listening to these sweet words and getting caught up and changed to it. Him to say that it wouldn't lead to violence, though, we see now in our modern world that is exactly the road it leads to.
Yeah,
so, that's a fool's dream.
Naive about things, right?
Well, Heaven's Gate, you know, like there could be a very different version of this script where this charismatic leader's like, we're all going to fly the Enterprise into the singularity, right? Who the fuck, you know, that kind of thing could very much be a direction of the script like this could go in. And I think the studio did have a little bit of pushback of like, let's not like do literal God. It'll be kind of an asshole alien. And like, okay.
Right. Well, that's, so they're traveling to Shakari, which, Colin, I just realized that's what you were trying to pronounce earlier.
Right, that's
Shakari.
Shakari.
Quesadilla.
And so they pass through this barrier and they go down to the planet. And first a bunch of stuff happens on the ship. It's not that important.
Yeah, they try to escape. There's a jet boot scene. They do escape. Then he gives them hugs. There's some trauma that gets dealt with. And then it's like, all right, fuck it. We're here. We might as well look at the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, just come with me to see God or whatever. So
it's right outside.
We're already here. I guess so, yeah.
God.
Right.
I'm going to turn around the second we look at it. And it's like, you're welcome to. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And at this point, there's different like levels of belief between the three main cast members, right? Like DeForest Kelley, he has that scene with his dad.
He's buys
more on board now. Bones, Spock is still very conflicted because it's his brother, as we find out. It's his half brother. Sarek had a child with a Vulcan woman and made Cybok, whereas
Vulcan
Spock
princess.
is half human. Right? Yeah,
that's right. And then Kirk, I need my pain. I don't want my pain to go away. You know, like he doesn't even.
Is still very
Kirk refuses the hug, bro. He's not dealing with it at all. Yeah.
He's basically just rejecting therapy, right?
Well,
classic 80s male.
Toxic masculinity.
Tough. And again, my dad watching this just going like, yes, Kirk. I guess my big question before we get to sort of the end of where this film is going is that reveal that you just said, Jacob, of the brother of it all. Why does Cybok need to be Spock's brother in this film? What does that reveal do for you other than, again, maybe being another Star Wars thing?
I think it was to give Spock that connection to this character, to make him more conflicted about things. I'm not sure why exactly they decided to make him his brother. That's another thing I think Roddenberry was against, because he's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Please don't do this.
Right, and then we do it again with Discovery. But you know, Colin, you brought up like why now, right, with Cybok, and maybe something we'll see with the Strange New Worlds of it all is like, what is he doing in the time between Angel and getting out and building his following?
Flesh out his backstory.
They could get him to the moment upon which he dons the sleeves and enters a desert. I must go alone.
I think I'll go to Nimbus 3.
Yeah, you know, they could do all of that. So I'm here for it if we get some crazy character actor going nuts.
Yeah.
And who do you guys want? I want
Jeffrey Combs.
Didn't they show him in Strange New Worlds, or would they just?
It was like a hood.
Cast?
It was like a hood in the back of a head or something. Okay. We didn't see anything clearly.
You know who I want? I want Hurley from Lost. This guy kind of gives me a Hurley from Lost vibe. You know, put
charismatic
kind
as
of
hell
jovial
too.
like him on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got to be likable because this guy as a villain, he's high charisma stat. Like he's very kind of charming and. In his own way, you know, and we need to have that kind of energy for sure.
And I could tell you who they had in mind as actors before they got Laurence Luckinbill, but I'll save that because
save that for trivia.
My little quiz.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But fuck therapy, says Kirk. But I will. Look at God.
I'll hold on to my
Men
pain.
will
I'll
do anything except hug their best friend's brother.
Bro. Yeah, it's keep that bottle of Sorium brandy sealed up tight. You know, bottle it up, buddy.
Until it explodes. That's the That's the masculine way. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get to this planet, Shakari, in the center of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally they're like, okay, let's go see God. The four of them walk out, the three main characters and Sybok.
Yep. Kirk grabs a gun. Sybok's like, he says, we'll do it your way. Like, I don't know why you're agreeing to what he wants, but you are now. Yeah.
Right.
So he wants a passive.
At this
Again,
point,
Sybok
I'm
saying
totally
no weapons.
checked out, by the way. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
It's hard to be interested at this point because
But his
It
pacifism continues. That's the point of him saying no
Yes,
guns. That's
yes.
just why I brought it up, to show that he's always kind of
and he's like,
nonviolent.
these three
You're right.
guys that have resisted me this whole movie, I'm just going to let them come with me and
they'll see the
for
truth.
themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still believing. He's a true believer. But they walk out. They're like, God, we're here. And he doesn't
God's
show
like,
up at first.
Yeah, oh yeah. You go ahead.
And
Well.
then and then he appears, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then now, Jacob, I heard the Blank Check podcast describe this as tied with the reveal of the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns
Yeah.
for
That's a
biggest
good comparison.
Good note
biggest
callback.
moment in a movie where
The effects just let it
this,
down.
just the everything is built around like this has to work, and it's like,
yeah.
oh no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It is like, so like, what do you think when you're watching this? You're just like, if you're William Shatner and you're sitting down watching the daily or like the rough cut of this, and you're like, this is what
looks
we've
great.
got. This is all the
Yeah.
money we have left.
And keep in mind, this
Yeah.
is 1989. So just keep in mind the
We're
movies
almost into the 90s.
that were coming out at that time, like the level of effects that were coming out at that time.
I'll say Ghostbusters 2, that guy talking in the painting to this day, I think that's one of the best special effects out there, man. I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
looks great.
For sure, yeah.
Same year, like you were saying. So
Yeah. And so this we get a
we
bearded man's face in the sky, essentially,
He
right?
takes several different
He-
faces originally, where it's like,
Yes.
here's a
It's like, I'm
Vulcan,
all
here's
the
a
different
Klingon,
gods.
but
Yeah.
he
know.
like Minecrafts out for a minute. So like he just
yeah.
like blocks on blocks kind of too with his makeup sort of.
And then he just
Yeah.
settles on standard, generic God man.
Yeah.
Bearded old guy. Yeah.
Yes. And he's like, I'm here. And
You're the first
Right.
ones to make it. Sup, it's me, God.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Excellent. Okay. God, is there anything you want or need while we're here, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a starship.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold
And
on.
Sybok's like, so if we set up the 3 stages of our characters, right? Sybok's 100% all in. He's like, yes, whatever you need, right? And then Kirk's like, obviously the most skeptical. And this is where, I guess, the meat
fuck?
of the scene with the blue face man happens, where it's like,
Yeah.
Kirk figures out something's not right here, but Sybok is so
Kirk is like,
blinded.
the
Excuse me.
effects look terrible.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah. So he does his excuse me. What does God need with a starship?
And Sybok's like, how dare you ask him that? This is God. Yeah.
Throws a lightning bolt at him.
Yeah, he starts to get angry, and then even DeForest
I'll show
Kelley's
you I'm
like,
God.
oh shit.
He gets fucking pissed off and pushing Spock to be like, actually, as a reply guy, to be like, his question is valid.
He
You
didn't
should
answer his
answer
question.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then
That's-
we find out it's essentially a Wizard of Oz type reveal, right? Where
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
That's the man
With worse
behind the
special
curtain.
effects.
Well,
Yeah.
it's basically the most, dumbass frat bro take on that big search for religion question, Jacob, that you posed that this film is asking, at the start of the podcast, which is like, I want to get down to like the real question about God. It's these people who
Right.
find these answers that are like, what if God was just like a guy who like didn't even know what he was doing, man? And it was just like a thing, and it's like, he doesn't even give a shit about us, and you're like, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
I see you reading the
Um,
Old Testament. Yeah.
Yeah, Douglas
a
Adams did
grift.
this with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where it was like God was just like a guy living in a cabin by himself, like minding his own business, and didn't realize he was God. But so we find out in this that this God is actually just an alien who got trapped on this planet and is trying to get out, basically, and so wants their starship to escape this planet, right?
And the
But it just
barrier,
happened to
that's like his prison, apparently. Whoever put
Right.
him there set that up. And apparently all you need
That
to do
old
is
trap.
fly straight through it. You don't have to
with
do
any
shit.
starship. Yeah.
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 So oh, can I just mention really quickly?
Yeah.
The episode I missed, I called it Children of Apollo, but it's called Who Mourns for Adonis, and that's the season 2, episode 4 of the original series.
Okay.
And that's the same thing where they meet this guy who was once named as Apollo on Earth, and he had all these worshipers, but he's kind of a dickhead.
Right.
And then I think he throws a lightning. You know, so I've kind of seen this with Kirk before. So
Well,
Yeah, but this twist is that he's not even a god. He's just an alien who has the power.
well,
to
Apollo
make him-
wasn't a god either. He was just an alien with power that
It's a
humans perceived as a
shapeshifter.
god, and he just liked being
Right.
worshipped.
But
Yeah.
can I say, Mike, you're making me realize with you just even saying they flew straight there.
Yeah.
Like the fun of half of these, like this genre of storytelling where they like even think of The Force Awakens, where it's like we needed this last piece of the map so that we knew the coordinates to blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And this, it's literally just like Cybok knows the answer. They just fucking fly right there, and it's like, again, why didn't anybody else fucking do this? He didn't have a ship.
And also they're flying to the center of the galaxy, and it takes them like no time at all.
It takes like a
less
day.
than a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
So I guess
not
they're
like
going warp 10.
Yeah.
to get
plus,
there.
yeah. Well, he's guided by faith. You know, so he knows he'll make it through the filter. But now it's stupid because
Even that I would like if he said that out loud, Mike. But go ahead.
he's behaving like that because they're like, "Yo, we don't know if we're gonna survive this." He's like full
Yeah,
ahead.
he's very sure of himself.
You know, but
Yeah.
why is there no spatial anomaly that you need to like do the deflector array and like science it up? They just literally
Yes.
fly through it,
So
and the
cheap
bird of prey
again.
follows them. So it
Yeah,
doesn't even
again,
have to
the
be a
bird of
fancy
prey-
Federation ship. Which the B plot of there's a Klingon out
I
there
cannot
who
lie.
happens to
Yeah.
want to kill Kirk. Very stupid.
So it's been done so many times already. Like there's like, let's throw another Klingon in there just to add
This sub-villain.
We've seen it. Like it's so unnecessary.
We
Mhm.
finished that trilogy of films from 2, 3, and 4 that we were talking about, this unofficial like Return to Earth trilogy, and now we're kicking up, including the last one, this very strange like what's going on with the Klingons and how do they feel about like the Terrans sort of subplot.
They just hate
that-
Captain Kirk specifically
Yeah,
because of
yeah. Well, the
events
next
of previous
one.
films.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
But
embarrassed
we'll
them.
really dig into this.
Oh yeah, next one.
So yeah,
My son.
I really don't even want to talk about that whole subplot of this Klingon.
No, it
No.
sucks.
And that
But-
character's so unnecessary, and then at the end, the Klingon ambassador guy's just
Kurg.
like, he has something to say to you. I'm sorry, right?
Oh no, but then we get that
You're
sick
his
like,
supervisor.
yo, my bro, at
Yeah.
the end
That's
banquet. But first, before we get to the banquet, we have to have Cybok and Spock have a bonding moment. Cybok realizes, oh, this is not God. This is a huge dickhead, and I was wrong. And he takes responsibility. He says, hey, Spock, sorry, bro. And then he
Yeah.
goes, share your pain with me, God, and just dives into the abyss.
Yeah, he
Guys,
sacrifices himself so that they can get away.
It's incredible.
this is one I have definitely rewatched this one the
Uh.
least out of all these movies. So
Yeah.
and maybe even like surf on my phone the most. So again, really watching it this time, like the dance and stuff, there were so many moments where I was totally shocked by what was happening. This final scene with Cybok, I was
Mhm.
like, that's what happens to him. Like I couldn't get over.
I was so
Yeah.
sad with how he went out because I do genuinely like that character. It was just so bizarre.
Yeah.
But then Kirk or someone was like, I guess you would be lonely in fucking space and be sad, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But-
don't know.
He kind of has a begrudging respect for him at the end, I guess.
He
and do you
should have
guys
given
know
him
about-
marshmallows.
Yeah.
True.
Do you guys know about, again, they had to cut stuff for budget reasons, but they had this whole rock monster planned for this climax where they were going to fight a rock monster, but then the suit was like so bad that they're like, this looks so stupid.
There are pictures of this fire golem, normies. Check it out. It's
Yeah.
very cheesy and sad to look at.
Again, 1989. You can't get away with that. It's not, 1972 or whatever. But
No.
so they're just like, okay, let's cut the rock monster. So that's
Blue
why
lightning bolts
that
for days.
climax,
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems
But
so
I-
kind of abrupt.
But again, I gotta say, I was flipping through Tubi, the program the other day, looking for movies to watch. Came upon a comedy I'd never heard of, directed by Leonard Nimoy. I'm like, of course. There are no other Shatner things, we should say.
No.
I brought it up that he directed a couple episodes of T.J. Hooker.
Right.
Yeah.
This
And
this is it.
He stars in
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, he starred in. I think he Yeah, he was he did he direct some of the original series episodes too, or I'm not sure.
I'm
but-
not
I
sure
don't
if he
know.
did
That'd
that.
be wild.
But
yeah, I know he did T.J. Hooker, and then another thing he would do is he wrote Star Trek novels that are part of the expanded lore of Star Trek. He wrote, I don't think they're canon, or I don't think they're considered canon, but he wrote novels of Star Trek.
I know Walter.
how many
Koenig
girlfriends
did
Kirk
too.
has.
That just sounds so desperate to me. I
Yeah.
don't know.
At least we do have a zero-sum Kirk girlfriends in this movie. That's refreshing.
Yeah.
But again, it does
Surprising.
feel like if he's doing T.J. Hooker in this, it's like, I want to stay relevant. I'm the captain. I'm the original, you know, and it's like,
I'll climb him out.
Bones and Spock, teleport them away. I'll handle God. Like,
Yes.
Yes.
bro, like, humble yourself a little
He's the
bit.
I
only
mean,
one
They could
who
stand
isn't,
up
like,
to
a little bit
God.
convinced,
No.
you know, by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this
it's a
is
lot
it.
of-
Like this is our big Shatner movie. So let's just take a second to sort of like dig and say, like, the first time I ever saw him
Mhm.
was like years after this. I obviously knew what Star Trek was, but like my younger stepsister, past guest Allie's like favorite movie growing up was Miss Congeniality, where he plays like the
Yep.
pageant host or whatever.
Yep.
Just a funny part, right?
Yeah.
And then like he would pop up on the sitcom Third Rock from the Sun. And he
sure.
just
Yeah.
was this little washed up troll guy who like would get a pop from the audience and he would make my dad happy, you know? But like
Sure.
that's it. But like
Boston
this
Legal.
Oh, yes. I mean
You ever
he
seen
got
that show?
Emmys and stuff for that. I've never
Yeah.
watched that, but like that was
I've never
a big
watched
deal
it.
for him.
The weird thing with Boston Legal is another main character in that is played by Renee Auberjonois.
No way.
Otto.
Yeah. Yeah, Odo.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of Star Trek connections to that show, but I've never
Well, I'm
seen
gonna
it.
watch that now. Chime
Interesting.
McBride, you know I love
And they have
that.
scenes together. You can like Google, like YouTube search their scenes together. It's
Oh,
really
you're just
funny.
gonna deep fake it so it'll be Kirk and Otto having a dialogue now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I first encountered William Shatner like in clips of Arena, you know, because I'd never watched the original series, but I remember seeing that on the early internet days. That's probably the first time I remember seeing like
And him fighting that Gorn.
Kirk and the Gorn with the foam rock, you know, and then the progressive
Right.
commercial shit like that. But I never saw T.J. Hooker. I don't remember knowing who he was in Miss Congeniality. Like I remember watching that, but I didn't have a connection that this is a famous person at that point.
It's
Right.
not him voicing it, but do you guys remember the plot of the first episode of Family Guy? Is Meg taking her driver's test, crashing a TV tower so there's no more television, and
Right.
Peter mad that he can't watch Star Trek, and then he later meets William Shatner and they become best friends for the entire episode. That's the
I didn't
pilot
know
of
that.
Family Guy.
I remember
That's
that
crazy.
episode.
It just shows you what a big Star Trek fan Seth
he
MacFarlane
loves
is.
it.
The pilot of Family Guy has
He's
Star
also
Trek
had
in
the
it, yeah.
entire TNG cast on as, you know, guest actors. Patrick Stewart obviously was a big American
part of
Dad
it.
character as well.
Oh,
Reoccurring character.
you're telling me my favorite show of all time. But Jacob, and of course, this episode is definitely the closest to that episode of Futurama, with them dealing with a quote unquote God the entire
Right,
time, right?
right.
So I think this is the biggest inspiration. Normies, again, watch that if you haven't. It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
I don't know. I like this more than one. I'm not gonna do final thoughts, but it's like the way we
Yeah.
wrap it up is abrupt. We don't get Fire Golem.
It's just over.
Yeah, and then
yeah.
there.
Well, we go back to camping.
That's right. What do we learn at the end? I never
Row,
needed
row,
therapy.
row. Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't need God or therapy. Damn it! I'm William Shatner. That's what we learned.
I
Yeah.
just mean my two best buds that are always fighting, Spock and Bones.
Uh huh.
We're all so old. What if, as it was fading out, he was like, "We're gonna die together," and then just like cuts to black. You're like, "Oh,
Yeah. What about that scene when they're like going to sleep and they're just like, "Good night, Spock."
yeah."
Bones."
That's
I
like
mean,
the
that's a
Waltons.
Waltons.
Ah, yeah,
I mean,
nice
it's
catch.
So, it's
Yeah.
so good. The whole this. Here's the thing, and even ending on that almost makes me forget of the 45 minutes of this film that I absolutely detest. So
Sure.
It
Yeah,
could be
just them
shorter.
Camping in Yosemite for the whole movie.
it should have been.
Oh man,
Been
this
a
would have been
better
on
movie.
Earth. Cybok's just hugging everything in Yosemite.
If it let's
Join
say
me,
this,
Mountain Lion.
if it hadn't been Shatner taking over this, I think they would have fully embraced the comedy angle of the last film and just done another, fun, grounded, silly movie.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting because 3 was kind of a box office bomb. Then 4 brought it back and was the surprise hit. And then they were like, well, we got to make another movie now. 4 was a hit. And then this one just did terrible at the box office. And they should have just stuck with the formula that was working with 4, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and budget probably didn't help. Like an Earth-centered Star Trek thing. Yeah, like we talked about that scene with Chekhov and Uhura just literally standing on the corner of some street in San Francisco. Like, how cheap was that to film? You know?
Yeah.
Right, but people like that movie in the theaters. In this one,
Right.
the reaction was obviously very negative when it came out.
Immediately.
And let me just read some of the movies that were coming out in the summer of '89 that this had to compete with.
Wait, can I
Batman,
say
yeah.
real quick, just the fact I sent Normies, my fellow hosts here, this app that I had just heard from a podcast that was like, "What's the #1 movie when you were born?" This
Right.
was mine. This came out 3 days
yeah.
before I was born. That makes me laugh. So
Wow.
please continue.
Yeah, the summer blockbusters of '89 that it was going against, all big hits. Obviously, you had Batman,
Whew.
you had Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, you had Ghostbusters 2. Like I said, you had the James Bond movie License to Kill,
Oh,
and you had Lethal
best.
Weapon 2, and those were all huge hits that it was directly competing with, and it just bombed. So
Man, and a couple of those would be considered maybe the best in their series. Last Crusade, to get that talk a lot,
Yeah.
But this is certainly nowhere near the best in its own series. So to be competing with
in
some of the
series, I would
heaviest
say.
hitters, yeah,
yeah.
not great.
Sorry, yeah.
William.
So it's unfortunate. And it's funny when it came out, William Shatner, like the morning after, he read like a positive review in like the Los Angeles Times or something, and was like convinced that it was going to be a positive reaction from most people. He was like super excited, and he's like, later I found out that how wrong I was.
Oh no, poor guy.
I'm happy to hear that.
Well,
Yeah.
he found out how wrong he was. I want to find out how right we both can be. What do you say we go for another edition of what's the trivia?
The Wrath of Cobb.
Yeah,
Ooh,
we
make
do
it so.
trivia. We're gonna make it so.
My little trivia quiz.
We're back. We're about to put our Trek knowledge to the test. That's right. It's the Wrath of Cobb. Do, 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 do.
I spit at
That's
thee.
right.
With my last breath.
I think
Expose my chest.
Cybok is the second best villain of the movies so far.
Wow.
After Khan, it's Cybok easily. Who else is there?
He's
really?
It's a weird
like Krug.
villain because he's not even
Krug's
really a
cool,
villain.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he is better though. I would agree with you. It's just the
He's
thing
an
that's
interesting
always going to
character.
knock him down is the Spock brothers stuff. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, that's true. But
He's
anyway,
a very interesting, complex character, I think. I will give him that.
yeah.
But let me start my quiz here. So you know the rules, true or false. I'll say something, and then you have to guess true or false, and you guys can both answer, and then I'll reveal. I'll say 3, 2, 1, reveal or whatever.
That's right.
If you're watching on
and-
YouTube, you'll see the fingers.
One
if
for
you're
true,
listening,
2 for false is what I do.
you'll have to take our word for it. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so this first one I actually just gave to you earlier, but Cybok was inspired by the televangelists of the 1980s.
And we know.
True.
That is true. So we'll skip that
As
question.
our test question, that's how the format will go, viewers. Yes.
Now you know. So, did you know originally Spock and Bones, in the original script that Shatner was putting together, Spock and Bones were going to side with Cybok and betray Kirk. But but Nimoy and Kelley, Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley, just really objected to that whole idea. True or false?
Okay.
I am
think I'm
locked
ready.
in.
Locked in.
All right. 3, 2, 1, reveal.
True.
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 I had to believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of worded that wrongly because I just gave you too much information. But yeah, they hated that idea. They're like, Spock and Bones would never betray Kirk.
My belief, though, is that Shatner would be like, and wouldn't it be great if I fight you guys? And they'd be like, no, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then I
His
win.
idea
I
was
beat
essentially
you up.
Yeah, his idea would be like the entire crew turns against him.
I'm
and
the
he's
hero.
the only man that's correct about everything.
No.
It's not enough to beat God. He also has
Right.
to beat his
Jesus
best friends and
Christ.
coworkers. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Can you
They
imagine,
rejected
guys?
that. Yeah.
That's wild.
Um,
On brand, but wild.
On
Yeah.
brand.
Mhm.
definitely tracks. Next question. Oh, this is an interesting one. Okay. George Takei, how did he feel about working on this movie, do you think? He found working with Shatner as a director difficult. True or false?
I'm ready.
I'm
Locked
locked
in.
in.
3, 2, 1, reveal.
Very true.
I'm going true on these.
You guys are
Anything
saying
that's
true.
just bad on Shatner, yeah.
Yeah.
I was tricking you guys a little bit. That is false.
Whoa.
George Takei said Shatner maintained a creative and enthusiastic atmosphere on set, and he said, I have enormous admiration for his ability to block out that kind of pressure from seeping in on the set. Despite our sometimes strained personal history, I found working with Bill as a director to be surprisingly pleasant.
Huh. Now
So
I
Zulu
totally,
has
led you
5
guys on there.
lines in this movie. Well, but I believe it.
his
Yeah.
one day on set was great.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't have much to do in this one. Yeah, it's
He
surprising. right?
walks through the woods with Chekhov, and they're like, "Shore leaves cut early," and you're like,
Oh yeah,
okay.
because he
Yeah.
joined Cybok fairly early, and Cybok's just
Yeah.
like, drive the ship. He's like, driving the ship, and like
Yeah,
that's all he
him,
does the whole movie.
Him, Uhura, and Chekhov spend a lot of this movie just being brainwashed
At
by
their
Cybok.
station,
Yeah.
doing
It just sucks.
the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But surprisingly, he thought it was a good set atmosphere.
That's
so-
wild. Well,
Yeah.
we both missed that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was tricking you guys a little bit.
you did,
Uh,
Trixie.
Very tricky.
So here's a fun one. So the name Shakari
Hmm.
is a play on words of the original actor that they wanted to play Cybok, Sean Connery. Shakari. Is
Oh,
that true or false?
I'm locked in.
Yeah, I'm locked in.
I'm
All
locked
right,
into my
3,
head
2, 1.
canon.
Reveal.
I have to. I said it has to be true because I want to believe it
Mike
so
says
bad.
true. Colin says false. It is true.
Yeah.
But the idea was to him to go.
Stupidity
like,
prevails.
This planet after you.
I think maybe they named it after they couldn't get Sean Connery as like a joke
okay.
or something. I don't know.
I'm going with ILM to the Last
Shakari.
Crusade.
Shakari.
Sean Connery.
Yeah, he would have been doing that at this point.
Yeah,
right?
so
Last Crusade.
their special effects and their co-star got pulled the Last Crusade.
And,
Yeah.
But
So they
can we
wanted Sean
say
Connery. Yeah.
this is during, or I guess this is kind of before, but this sets up that entire area of The Matrix, Aladdin's dad in the third Aladdin movie. Eventually he does do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but all these movies where they were like, please, Sean Connery, come out of retirement, and he would say
Right.
no over and over and over.
He'd
again.
always be like, if it was like sci-fi or fantasy, he'd always be like, I didn't understand the script.
Lord
at
of the
all."
Rings.
Yeah.
The big Gandalf, and he's
Lord
like,
of the Rings.
I don't get it.
Yeah, and then the
Why
one
he's
that he
a little
decided to
man.
do, the League of Extraordinary
The
Gentlemen.
League,
was a
that was the
huge
one.
bomb.
Ugh,
Yeah.
it's so bad.
I used to think Dorian Gray was so cool. The
Me
one
too.
time I ever saw that movie.
Tom Sawyer, man. I've got all of it.
Another Alan Moore adaptation that he hates, obviously.
Yeah, another Alan Moore movie that makes him like tie a noose.
Yeah.
And well, that chair in the prison is a danger because if somebody did get a noose around those pipes Kirk is hanging off of, they just press the button and it slides out from under their feet. That's not good.
True.
I need
Anyway,
a chair. I
yeah.
need to sit.
So Sean Connery, they wanted him. They also
I
were
reject
interested
that.
in another actor here, Max von Sydow. They were interested in maybe him. being-
Oh,
I almost
Cybok.
wonder if the guy they got for the next one too, Christopher Plummer, was ever in the mix.
That could be
I
too.
could see Max von Sydow.
Yeah.
Max von
Christopher
Sydow.
Plummer. Yeah, sorry, go.
No, the planet would be what? Mavosa?
Von Sydow. Yeah.
Von Sydow.
Mavosa.
It's a little planet called Piwe Herman. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
adventure.
You mentioned Christopher Plummer. They might have wanted him for this movie. I know him and Shatner went back to like acting in plays and stuff back in the day. So that's how they got him for the next movie, which we'll talk about in a month.
Nice.
Interesting.
But yeah, let's keep moving. Next
right.
question. Also,
I don't like these questions.
I just followed my heart like
Trixie, I'm
Cybok
Trixie.
with that last one.
Yeah.
Reveal your pain to me, Mike.
You gotta see past my tricksy ways.
Mhm.
So Laurence Luckinbill, Cybok. Little known fact, or maybe not that little known, he is the real life son-in-law of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, famous for Desilu Productions, obviously producing Star Trek. originally. Yeah, but is that true or false?
Seems
I'm gonna lock in.
strange. Okay, I'm
Locked.
locked in. Yes.
3, 2, 1, reveal.
Is it true?
True.
Got the job
That-
through nepotism?
I don't know if he got the
Or
job through
still
nepotism, but
related.
it's just a coincidence. But that is
The
true.
smallest
He's-
big business in the
Okay.
world, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's married to Lucy Arnaz, who is Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's daughter.
Oh, Lucy had a daughter named Lucy.
Yeah, apparently. And her, I guess her name was Lucy Desiree Arnaz.
Sure.
so-
Lucy Ball, Lucy Arnaz. Wow.
Yeah, Desi Arnaz. So,
The amount of
Now,
specific
hold on.
details in
Hold
that were too specific for it to be anything but
Yeah.
true.
I've been in trouble with some of
Well,
these.
but also,
No,
why
it's all
isn't
good.
this like the third act of that Aaron Sorkin movie? Where they're like, but who's going to play Saiba?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if they covered that. But yeah, Laurence Luckinbill. I'm not sure if I know him from any other movies. Are you
No.
familiar with him in any other
What
roles?
could he? He's one of those guys
Pull
where
it
I
up.
imagine his Wikipedia page picture is him as Cybok.
Yeah, I don't
It
see
could not
anything
be
here.
anything else.
But yeah, I guess Shatner, like you said, he saw him in a play or something and just really liked him. So he said, "Hey, we tried Connery, we tried Von Sydow. Let's get Laurence.
Let's get a nobody. That was sort of the wrong choice here.
Yeah, not a
Again,
I
lot.
not
think
that I
he
don't
was
hate
good,
the
though.
performance.
Yeah.
He pulls off an okay performance with what he's given.
An
So-
episode of Columbo is maybe the biggest thing I can see here.
Mm.
So,
Oh my god.
yeah.
That's not great.
I was the
Um,
fifth villain in Star Trek. Like you would
Right.
say, like that would be like if I was the fifth villain. In
I was
Star
Spock's
Trek.
brother. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like you don't remember me? Like no.
Technically a prince of frickin' Vulcan,
Yeah.
you know? Anyway.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
not sure how the Vulcan.
My dad's an
system
ambassador.
works, if they even have princesses and princes
And-
anymore.
They said
Was she
yeah,
dead
nowadays.
before he met Carol, whatever her name was? What's
Who?
Spock's mom's name? This other lady that
Amanda.
Sarek was with? Amanda?
Amanda, right?
I guess so, right?
I
Or
think
just
maybe.
Vulcan
I don't
culture,
know.
you can just,
Or they
it's
just
like
got
polygamy.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I guess divorce could exist in space. I guess
Yeah.
so. I don't
Well, you know, the whole thing with the Pring was basically space divorce. Well, breaking up with engagement, but you know,
Don't
it
say
involves
that yet.
death. Yeah.
Spoilers for Strange New Worlds.
Sorry.
Just don't say it.
Maybe. All right, next question.
I shipped
Let's see
Chapel
how many we
Spock.
have. A couple more.
I'm excited.
So this. Okay, here's a good one. This movie features a cameo by Leonard Nimoy's daughter. True or false?
When was there even like a little girl in this thing? I'm trying to think.
Well,
Okay,
she might not be a little girl.
I'm locked in.
Right, I'm locked in.
That's
too.
right.
lock
She's
it in.
48 at the time because, of course, Leonard Nimoy is 79 when they made this movie.
I'm wagering
uh,
that she was the cat.
That would be wild.
Shatner doing that? Oh, I believe it.
That would
What
be
did you make my
hilarious.
daughter wear?
And then I
All
threw her
right,
into
let's
a pool.
reveal them. Right.
I'm
3,
locked
2,
in.
1.
Reveal.
False.
False. Yeah.
False. All right, you guys are correct. That was false. I was trying to trick you again. Nimoy's daughter isn't in this. Shatner's daughter is in this.
She's
Can't
the
even
cat.
imagine who. Yeah.
So
who?
when he first comes aboard after being in Yosemite, he's like putting on his jacket and stuff. He hands his climbing jacket or whatever he's wearing to his yeoman, right?
Yeah.
Is this lady, and then that is Melanie Shatner, his daughter, apparently.
Huh.
Sure.
You know, I was
And
watching that scene, and I thought,
Yeah.
of course Shatner
What a
would have
weird-
some lady put his jacket on. But now that I know it was a cameo, I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
guess it's kind of
Yeah.
Well, the concept of a yeoman, and this was kind of the joke of it, is that like in the original series they had this position that's the yeoman, which is like the basically his personal assistant that like brings him food and stuff. It was played by I forget her name's Janice Rand in the show. You know who I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
I can't remember
Um,
the name of the actress, but yeah,
but
yeah.
they kind of did away with that in like Next Generation and stuff, that whole position.
Good.
But this whole scene was kind of a joke about that because he hands her his jacket, and then for the rest of the scene she's just kind of wandering around the bridge because it's supposed to be a joke that there's no that yeomans rarely like have anything important to do, and also there's nowhere to hang a jacket on a starship bridge, so she's just kind of wandering around.
No zippers and no coat hangers, damn it. These
Yeah.
doors slide. You can't put a coat hanger on
Now,
that.
here's my question for y'all. Shatner's Twitter, he's like a million years old, obviously. He's like 89
Yeah.
years old or something. His
He's in his
Twitter
90s.
is 90 years old.
Yeah.
His Twitter is famously handled by his daughter.
Okay.
And it's very anti-PC culture and will retweet a lot of like right-wing bro stuff. Is that this
Interesting.
woman? Does he have another
I have
daughter?
no idea. He may have multiple daughters. If it's Melanie Shatner, then that is this one.
Huh.
It's, do you
Interesting.
remember the woman? She has like a weird haircut too in this movie.
You calling her the
Yeah.
Yemeni thing is making it stand
Yeah.
out for that little
The
scene.
yeoman.
Yeah,
She
the
is
yeoman.
his yeoman running the Twitter for
Yeah.
the captain, right?
I
Anyway.
think she's
I
like
guess
his
that doesn't
handler
surprise
now.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Shatner's like a Republican and stuff, so who
she's
knows?
just like,
But-
I have dinner with him frequently. I know what he thinks.
but truly, like, other celebrities have like been like, like responded to the like it's too PC now, where he's like, no, it's like good positive celebrities will be like,
Oh,
no, it's good, like everything good's happening. And
Right.
Shatner will respond to those people and be like, shut up,
Fucking
you
idiot.
cuck. And people will be like,
Oh.
Shatner knows like what the word cuck means. And then it came out that it was like, it's not
it's
him
his
doing it.
daughter.
So
Weird. Yeah.
Wild.
Some weird MAGA stuff going on. But
Yeah,
do you
what?
remember he was in a show called Shit My Father Says that was based on like a Twitter account that they turned into a show,
Okay.
a sitcom?
Yes.
Now, in our little timeline that we had of post Shatner, that is the best point you
Did
could
that get a
bring
whole
up is
season?
This.
Yeah.
I-
I think
but-
maybe a whole season that
But
got
one of
canceled.
those season orders where literally people were like, "That's Twitter's the future. This thing is just standing
Right.
out. We'll greenlight it just because people retweet this fake account." Shit, my dad said, which
That
was like a
thing that happened
racist
in the
account.
2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like,
Oh my god.
shit my racist, like outdated dad
Yeah.
says.
Yeah.
Like a joke or whatever.
Incredible.
Yeah, a gimmick Twitter account could be made into a show in the 2000s.
Yes. Oh, greenlight it
What a
all,
time.
baby. The internet.
Yep.
It's scary and new.
Jesus.
So what's the current score with this?
Right now it is
Macabre?
Colin 3, Michael 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mike winning again.
Always.
No. I lost the first
Uh,
couple, I think.
Let's see. Let's do 2 more questions. How's that sound?
All right. That sounds good.
Giving me a chance.
Yeah. So, in the scene when Shatner's climbing the mountain and he falls, the stuntman that did that fall set a record for the highest descender fall by plummeting off of El Capitan.
Oh
True or
my
false?
God. Well, and Spock says that whole thing about no one will be setting any records today. So okay,
true.
I'm
locked in.
Yeah, lock it in. 3, 2, 1. Reveal.
True.
I went false, so
Mike says
Okay.
false.
depending on how the split goes, it might tie it up.
I said it is true.
Oh, it's tied up. Oh, no.
Who knows?
Stuntman Ken Bates set a record by falling off of El Capitan with a wire sport rig. He wasn't just free falling.
He should
Oh.
not have done that though. That's scary.
It seems like a very dangerous stunt for this level of movie.
Oh,
It looks like rear projection. So I thought you were tricking me by saying El Capitan when actually it was like a soundstage large
Well,
descent.
there is
yeah.
some trickery in that scene with Shatner and Nimoy where they would use
Yeah.
the background, but the
When
long
he
shot of him
stops.
falling, that's a stuntman falling.
Right.
They actually shot it that way.
that's scary.
That is
Yeah.
wild.
I might rewatch that. That's ooh.
Yeah. Okay, it's all
right,
tied
so-
up then.
Wow,
Wow.
4-4.
Well, we're about to tie this thing
The
straight up.
fifth
might,
point,
yeah.
Star Trek 5.
Yeah.
So this is the only of the first 6 Star Trek films not to feature any scenes in or around Starfleet headquarters in San Francisco.
Ooh.
Is that true or false?
Ooh, man, that's hard.
Think
This
about
is
it.
one of
Think
those
about all
things
the
where it's
past
like,
movies.
did I turn it off too quick? 'Cause
Was I
pretty
looking at
much
my
right after
phone?
Yeah,
Right.
like there was a moment where I'm like, okay, this thing's done. Turn it off. Where it's
Yep.
like maybe it still could have been going.
All right,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
locked
locked
in.
in.
I guess.
lock it in
Yeah.
for all the marbles. Here we go. 3,
Ooh.
2, 1. Reveal.
We both went
False.
false, so.
False. You're both wrong.
Oh.
It is true.
Don't see Starfleet at
So
all.
the end,
don't see
that
Starfleet
banquet's not at
headquarters.
Starfleet, huh?
Isn't that on a ship or something? Like
It
they're
could,
still
yeah,
traveling
it's
back
probably.
to
You know
Earth?
what? Yep.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I
Dang.
think that's on the Klingon bird of prey or something.
I thought for some reason I was at like a banquet at Starfleet, and they were like, "Good job," but you're right. They
well,
were on a
because
ship.
they make that guy apologize. It has to be on the Bird of Prey.
Yeah.
'Cause why else would
'Cause
those guys
he
be
beams
there?
back to the bird of prey, and then Spock's there.
But then
and
they
turns
show
around
up
and
later
says-
at dinner, and that guy
Right.
comes through and is like, "Hey, my
I
homie," and
think
Kirk
they're
gives
still
him a
traveling back.
half-assed one. But yeah, they're
Right.
traveling.
And then they go back to
yeah.
Yosemite at the end.
Dang. All right.
Maybe
So
that's the curse.
tie
No,
score
instead we
4-4.
spent more time on the
Wow.
pleasure planet. It's like, oh, great.
Paradise
Right.
City. Yeah, beat
We
me
saw
down.
we
Yeah, I
saw
didn't
David
expect
Warner
you
who
both
hates
to get
his
it wrong.
job. Yeah.
hmm
But I guess you tied at 4.
It's our first ever
Hey.
tie, I believe. On
Well, I have a
Wow.
tiebreaker I could ask you.
you want to tie break it and then get these final.
Oh, we got to then.
We
Yeah.
got to. Yeah.
I don't make this. All right, this will be a really hard extra
'Kay.
credit question. So if either of you guys can name it, you'll win. But
Oh, you buzz
otherwise-
in.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I don't think either of you guys will know this.
Okay.
Answer. But I'll make it instead of a true or false. I'll just say, yeah. It'll. Okay. So
Mike, buzz in by saying "make it so"
Okay.
if you've got the right answer.
make it so.
Understood.
Make
You
it so.
can't say it
scene
until he finishes
where-
the question. Okay.
Yeah. So the scene where the Klingon bird of prey blows up that satellite. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
That satellite is okay, can you tell me what real life space probe that is?
That's a real life space probe that the Klingons blow up.
Yes. See, I don't think you guys are gonna know this.
I'm gonna say the Voyager. That's my. Oh, sorry. Make it so. The Voyager.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Voyager, Colin. You have any guesses?
Was that thing called the Sea Nest? I think. Yeah, that's
Sea
my
Nest.
guess. Yeah.
Remember, Voyager was in the first one, right? Voyager. was
Voyager.
Voyager.
Oh god.
But this was the
Well.
Pioneer 10 space probe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
We
It
ended a
launched
tie.
in March of 1972. It became the first space probe to pass by and photograph the planet Jupiter.
Wow, and now we retroactively lose all of our points for not getting that correct.
That's
right.
right.
0 to
That
0
was
now.
the yes, that is how the quiz works. But it is currently still out there, and it's heading towards the star of Aldebaran, which it should reach in about 2 million years. Radio contact with the probe was lost in 2003 when its communications system power source failed. So
We're sending
go.
stuff out that we don't expect to get back in 2 million years.
oh, it's never coming back.
No,
Yeah,
we
it's
just-
keep going.
Yeah,
But that's
come on.
basically the motion picture, right? Voyager comes back,
Right.
and it's all
right.
you
The
know,
maker.
aliened up. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've met our maker, I think, on this quiz. Now that we've got all of our points redacted, I say let's take a quick break and come back for final thoughts right after this.
That quiz wasn't as good as the Voyage Home, but you do what you
Few
That one was a
things
baller
are.
one.
Yeah, that's a very good quiz.
I'm still thinking about Eddie Murphy
Yeah.
in these films. But we're back. We're giving our final thoughts here on Star Trek. We talked the 5th film here. Again, horribly named The Final Frontier. You can just imagine this asshole lead of the series being like, and I'm basically titling it The Last One.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Fuck
Well,
you.
it's possible that this was going to be the last one, but I think the reception was so bad. They're like, we got to do another one just so people don't hate us, you know?
Like
And
old
it's, you know-
retirement matches. Like, oh shit, that was a bad one. We got to do one more.
Yeah. It was Tom Brady. He's like, I'll come back another season.
Yep. Yep.
And just charting all 5 of these, it's been so fun and so interesting to talk the give back and forth of Harvey Bennett and Nicholas Meyer, and just charting like how much they're involved and what the sort of positive outcome becomes. So I am very excited to wrap that up next month. And
Yes.
then are we still kind of moving forward with our plan? Are we going to do Galaxy Quest as well after that between the Next Generation movies?
Yeah.
I think
I
that'd
say
be
let's
great.
do it. So we'll do.
I've been holding off watching that. I'm excited.
We'll do
Yeah, likewise.
Undiscovered Country next month, and then we'll do Galaxy Quest, and then we'll do Generations. Which
Generation.
is kind of
Wow.
a Kirk Picard mashup, right?
Yeah.
That's when I'll be talking about my kind of final thoughts on Shatner and where his life ends up in a very crazy, interesting way. But
Sure.
for this one, as the lens of an artist and director, it's an impossibly hard job, truly. I'm not blaming all of this on him. I don't think he set out to make a bad movie, obviously. And I think when it's the intimate stuff between him and the characters, the Yosemite stuff, as we keep complimenting, like he is doing his job there of being like, these are people I've made stuff with for 30 years at this point. Like I know to just let him go. And that does come off in this film. And I wish it was more of that. Unfortunately, it's not.
Yeah, I think that stuff in Yosemite, the 3, Bones, Spock, Kirk, they have such good chemistry together at this point. They've been doing it for so long that all of their interactions, I just think I really like in this movie still. It's just everything in between, it really loses me. I appreciate that they were trying some things and like, they had some interesting ideas. It's really sort of a mess of an execution. But...
And sorry to interrupt on your final thoughts, but the bones of this are so good, Jacob, to go off what you're saying of the ideas in this movie, that let me say, when you steal one of these, when you're, what's his name, the Lost guy, the Watchman guy, and they're like, you finally get to write, a J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. Don't remake Wrath of Khan. Take what's good about this movie and remake this into a movie that people can actually watch.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting when we get to like Into Darkness and stuff, because they didn't really remake Wrath of Khan, but they just kind of took the character of Khan and changed a bunch of things. And like, it's just really the name Khan. They're like, people know that name. I guess now that's kind of what they're doing with Cybok in Strange New Worlds. And I hope that, we'll see how that goes. But, I'd be interested to see more of this character and like where he comes from and what led him to here and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And they're alluding, for my final thoughts, I love Cybok. I think he's very fascinating. And the stuff that works for me is just, him and the whole trauma angle. Like I kind of dig that like introspective part of this movie. And I also like that the Enterprise is like broken. Like it's kind of shitty. They got a skeleton crew. It wasn't finished, like being
What's the new?
prepared.
It's the retrofit of.
But it's not all finished.
Right.
Yeah. So
like Scotty's complaining about like, nothing works.
Half the doors don't open, that kind of stuff.
And it is the original model too. We should have said that, right?
The refit, yeah.
Yes.
Well, you remember the Enterprise obviously blew up in.
Then they're slowly driving it home. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess they just put it all back together, but yeah.
But yeah, I think this is fun. I would say Wrath of Khan, Voyage Home, and then Final Frontier. That's kind of my 3, followed by Search for Spock and Motion Picture.
Whoa.
Yeah, even though
you put this above
really
Search for Spock.
Yeah. I think just it's a little goofier, and it's too long. It's certainly too long. But I just enjoy
Search for
kind of the
Spock
camp.
has its weaknesses.
Yeah.
I get that. Man.
I just like Cybok a lot more than just the slow. I mean, Search for Spock has really great character stuff, but I don't know. I just like the kind of weirdness here.
I think what you said about Cybok in this podcast that we've been doing, it's really helped me appreciate him a little more too. So
I appreciate that. Why do you climb a mountain?
I get where you're coming from.
Because it's there.
Yeah,
Him and Kirk are not so different, really. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh,
Two men
Mike,
with
stop.
strong convictions, willing to do whatever it takes to realize their goals, even so much so that they reject one another's own philosophy, right? They're two sides of the same coin, the man of faith and the man of faith in himself, right?
Shut up, Mike. Just hug me. Come here.
Share your pain. So that's it for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, if I had to rank them, I'll just say, again, to reiterate, I would say Wrath of Khan, leaving out 6 because we haven't done that one yet. I'll say Wrath of Khan, Voyage Home, Search for Spock, the motion picture, and then I still put this one last just because I don't know. I just rewatching this was really a pain for me to get through, and I would honestly rather rewatch the motion picture. I think if I had to choose one of them to rewatch again.
Yeah, and I was so into the fashion, if you recall, in that first one. Like, at least it does kind of have some different looking Star Trek stuff that you don't appreciate. It's all just kind of paint by numbers and then just not my. So 2, 4, 3, 1, 5.
Wow, bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, this one's so weirdly structured and paced, and like all the assault on the city stuff is just so insane. I mean, I guess that has some.
It ends up being a 0-sum action scene. It's just a meme.
If I showed this to my kids one day, if they got into Star Trek, I would show them everything up to the Enterprise getting hijacked, and then I'd be like, "Let's just go to bed. Let's stop it here, and then tomorrow we can fast forward through some stuff and end this movie." And I think that's kind of the only acceptable way to watch this film, because the pace is. We keep saying it. It's so weird.
Yeah.
The arc of this film that's old men escaping jail and climbing ladders, like, that stuff can be a little quicker. Yeah.
And ultimately, it doesn't. None of that stuff matters. And then they just go to that planet.
It's filler.
It's such a letdown.
Yeah.
Like even compare, the climax of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, a movie that it was competing against. Like, that's so much more interesting. All the ending stuff when they go into the,
Well,
cup room and all that stuff.
The-
Like, that's so interesting.
But Jacob, let's even go to the first one and say that complaint that people have of if the characters weren't in the movie, what would the outcomes be? This whole movie goes down exactly the same way, whether or not Kirk, is in it or not, other than the ending where he kind of defies the god. But what this bum would have stolen this spaceship and left Spock's idiot half brother in the center of the universe jail, and like nothing changes.
Right.
So.
It's like Indy doesn't take the cup; he lets it fall. Right, same thing. But that movie's paced so much better.
Same kind of idea, just better execution from. Crusade,
but also the pacing in that. There's like 8 fucking unique action scenes in that movie that I've never seen in another movie. And then there's this, no
there's
wonder.
Just a journey of a character. Indy is a complicated who goes through something. And
but
this,
Kirk,
just like,
again,
not always
this
right.
Guy, this idiot is like, he's right to everybody. He's right to God.
Yeah, my problems that I've had with Kirk is like he still doesn't seem to have any mournfulness about his son or anything.
Insane.
He's just, I'm always right. I'm going to climb a mountain.
And Mike, the literal setup to this film, and again, if you were the person who's in charge of your lead character being like, I have the power to give myself the meatiest performance possible, there should be a line where he rebukes Cybok's hug saying, speaking about God in general, like the royal we of like, and you weren't there when my son died. And you were, you expect me to. You're like, he should be cathartically getting this stuff out. There is none of that.
Where was God when Spock died? Where was God when my son died? I had to solve all that on my own because there's not. Yeah, come on, it's right there.
It's weird because
he says I don't need therapy.
Yeah, he's basically forgotten about his son until he remembers him again in the next movie.
Maybe Cybok reminded him he needs to open up. He was resistant in this movie, but he starts to introspect, and it's a deep arc, and I'm underrating it. Yeah.
I'm shocked this wasn't in your trivia search for questions, Jacob, but how much do you guys want to bet $1 million that his first pitch was, and God's a sexy woman and I have sex with her? How did he fight that temptation in this film that he doesn't have a girlfriend? I know Mike said it, but it's so crazy.
Yeah. You know what? I'm wrong about this movie. Amazing restraint, William. Great directing. Really proud of you.
The cat.
The cat. No, yeah.
Yeah, the three-breasted.
It's there. It's just how at the end wasn't
it jumps
like,
on
and then
top
she's
of him.
on our ship.
Yeah,
you're right. All right, the cat. I redact all of that. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting movie for sure. We'll be wrapping everything up in terms of the original cast at least next month with Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country.
I'm sad and nervous because at this point, like these people making these movies, they are my old friends and I don't want to see them go. So the next one, I always kind of it's not my favorite one, and I always get a little wistful watching it because it's so bittersweet.
Yeah. As much as I criticize,
it is a better send-off than this movie, right?
Yeah, and I think the original cast, as much as we joke about them being old, like they really do come into their own in the motion picture era of the original series.
Definitely.
They're at their best, and so the fact that we have one more of those solo, it's a little bittersweet.
It's just weird to think about. Like, has a franchise ever gone from a show that was canceled after 3 seasons, became a cult hit after it ended, and then came back as a series of 6 movies that were way more popular than the show was?
God bless his soul if we hadn't lost him, but it would be like if they made Sopranos movies and Tony by the end of one was like, and I'm directing number 4, and you'd be like,
right.
No, you cannot do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess these original series films, we'll probably talk about this more when we wrap it up, but it is pretty amazing. The last film comes out in 1991. The decades that this crew has spanned adventuring, pretty
the show
wild.
Started in the 60s, 66.
It's like if there was like a
82.
79 was motion picture.
79 to 91.
But it's like, what if Bonanza became a spin-off of feature films that lasted until the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Wild.
Jesus.
Absolutely
Again, just the
wild.
fact that these were all big blockbuster budget type movies, and they were all starring a cast of people in their 50s and eventually 60s, right? Just wild. Like, that would never be done today.
No, they truly
Need the young
accomplished.
leading man and the the starlet to sell tickets.
No,
Robert Downey Jr. in these Endgame movies is probably the same age that these people were when these movies started, right? But the performance he has in these modern films is like, I'm finally ready to settle down and have a baby with Pepper Potts. You're like, have a baby? You're like 65 years old. What are you talking? Like, the idea of youth in modern movies is ridiculous compared to the first two arcs of these films, which are, we are old people. Look at how old we are. So I'll always treasure them.
I mean, they were doing too old for this shit type stuff in the first movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
A decade after the show ended. But
you're supposed to be an admiral, Jim.
Franchise.
Yeah. But
it's
you're right.
Strange how it all came about. But
we'll never see something like this again. You know, the final frontier is the undiscovered country that they plotted through in creating this type of feature film franchise this late after their series being canceled. So good on
Beautiful,
him.
Mike.
Thank you. And we'll be back in a month for more, and we'll be back next week for our regularly scheduled programming. Yeah.
That's
all that normal stuff. Check out at Normies_like_us, all social media. Check us out on YouTube. Rate, review, subscribe, leave a comment. Super helps us out.
Absolutely. Always appreciate it. And thanks again.
Taking that bold journey. We've been your hosts. This is Lieutenant Colin.
Mike Bach, thank you for sharing your pain with me.
And this is Lieutenant Jock. Live long and prosper, Normies.
What do you call these? Marshmallows?
Peace out, brother.
Marshmelons.
And what do we do after we have consumed them? All right, you ready? Row, row, row your boat.
Gently down the stream.
Bye, Normie.
Captain.
Bye.
Life is not a dream.